Alright guys, well I've got a pretty cool story to share with you guys today. This is a buck that I called BlueFace. This was my third year knowing that he was around, my second year hunting him. And back in 2020 is when this story begins. He was a 3.5-year-old and I just recently lost every picture of him but one. It was late season. He was a great looking 3.5-year-old. Obviously he wasn't on my hit list, but I was really keeping an eye on him, hoping he would make it through the season. Well, after the 2020 season, I actually got pictures of him all the way through January, even January 15th. So I knew he had made it through the year, and I couldn't wait to put cameras out in the summer of 2021 and see if he was still around. Well, early July, I put cameras out in the same spots that I'd had him in years past, and there he was, and he was a giant. He'd blown up what I thought at least 40 inches, and he was all over my cameras all the way through July, August, and he just kept getting bigger and bigger. I couldn't believe what he had turned into. Fast forward to early September 2021, he sheds his velvet, he stays in relatively the same area, he's at the other end of the draw on a bean field. I started getting his picture on a scrape all the time. So I moved a Banks blind in there, and I believe it was September 21st, we got a huge cold front, north wind, and I decided to head in there and see if I could lay eyes on him.
Alright, well, it is September 21st here in Missouri. I decided to come sit in my Banks blind tonight. We had a huge cold front come in. It's been up in the 90s for like the last 2 weeks in a row every day. The pictures have been really slow. We haven't had really anything on camera, but we had a big cold front blow in, and now it's about 68 degrees today is the high. So I had my big buck on camera last night at midnight right in front of me at 50 yards. So I'm hoping he's bedded in this draw, and with this cool weather, he's gonna get up and come and check this scrape tonight, or come eat some acorns. Hopefully I can put my eyes on him. So like I said, September 21st, north wind, and it actually feels like deer season tonight, so fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
Well, as luck would have it, that was actually the last time I ever laid eyes on that deer in person in 2021, but I continued to get a lot of reveal pictures of him, and I feel like I learned a lot about where he used, what areas he used, and when he used them, and I was going to be able to put that to use in the fall of 2022. Well, now it's the summer of 2022, and I couldn't be any more excited to go get my cameras out. I went and put them out in the same spots as years past, and the pictures started coming in, and he was not showing up. I couldn't believe it. I thought, you know, did he die in the off season? Did he get hit by a car? Get taken out by predators? He was just not in the same area. And I was starting to panic a little bit. So I moved some cameras kind of out on the outskirts of this farm and finally picked him up. I believe it was later in July, like the 25th, and I couldn't believe it. He had added a lot of mass, and he was gonna definitely be my #1 buck going into 22. Well, the area that he was summering in 2022 was about 2 miles from where he spent all of his time in 2021, and I figured once he came out of Velvet, he would move back to his core area from the fall before, and that's exactly what he did. I believe it was September 29th. I got his picture back in that area, and at that point it was game on. I got in there, got some stands hung, and I just had to wait for the right weather to go in there after him. So the picture started rolling in. He was really using this one bean field, and I knew exactly where he was bedding. Every night he was coming out of the same spot, just whether he'd do it in daylight or not was the problem. And I believe it was early October, started getting some pictures of him pretty close to daylight, so I decided to go in there and give it a shot. All right guys, it is October 7th, and we finally got the cold front we needed. We've gotten a few pictures of this buck I call BlueFace in the last week, and we're pretty sure we've kind of nailed down where he lives most of the time. So getting everything packed up and gonna head in here and see if we can get lucky tonight. Hopefully one of us will shoot a buck. So weather's perfect. It's like 58 degrees, north wind. Couldn't ask for anything better. So let's go get after him.
Okay, well, it took us a minute to get down here, long time, with all of our gear, and we had to hang another stand, but we got everything done about 10-15 minutes ago, and we already had a few deer step out up here before we got the camera out, walk across the corner of the field. So it feels amazing tonight. Straight north wind, highs in the upper 50s. This is what it's all about in October, to get a cold front like this. This is what we need to get him on his feet. So hoping he's bedded down in here to our north, and he's gonna come out of this corner and get close enough for a shot tonight. So we're both really excited. We both got our bows, like I said. There's some bucks in here that Austin will shoot too, so we will see what happens. It's gonna be a good night. All right, our shooter just stepped out. He's up in the corner of the field. He's about 150 yards away. It's probably gonna take a miracle to get him over here in bow range, but man, it feels good to see him. Oh my goodness.
Well, through the middle part of October, I had 3 or 4 encounters with him, and with the winds we were having, I wasn't able to move in any closer to him. I wasn't having any problem seeing him, but getting him in bow range was a whole nother story. Well, we finally got an east wind, and where this deer was bedding and how he was entering the field, that was the only wind that I could get up in there a little bit closer to that corner, and we finally got it. On the 26th of October, I went in there and hung a double set by myself, and it was just one of those nights. There was deer moving everywhere, young bucks coming out at 20, 30 yards, and it was just an awesome hunt.
All right, it is October 26th. I'm in Missouri again tonight. This is what feels like the 100th hunt for this buck. I've been all over him. I've seen him a handful of times, but just cannot seem to get him in range. Just haven't gotten lucky yet, but I've only got a couple stands on this field that I can hunt that are in safe spots with as many deer that come out here, and where he's bedding, I can only get so close to him, but the wind is east-southeast tonight, so I was able to come up into this corner. Austin and I hunted it about a week ago, and he likes to come out right here to my right, about 30 yards. I got a picture of him last night down in the bottom corner, actually this morning at 6:30 heading in here, so if he comes from this way, I'm still good with this wind. If he comes into the field, the timber's really open on the left side over here. I can shoot, and then obviously I can shoot out in the field, so I feel really good about this setup with the wind I've got. I'm by myself tonight, and I've just been making sure I can film every angle wherever he comes, so I'm prepared for any situation, but should be a good night. Temperatures in the mid-60s. Pretty calm tonight compared to the last week, so I feel pretty good. Hopefully it makes an appearance and I can end this story, so we'll see what happens. Pretty excited. don't even know what to say. But I've waited a long time for that moment, and I just completely blew it. He was just a touch over 40 yards, and I don't know what happened. Obviously, my pin was not where I thought it was, and I'm pretty sure my sleeve, or my string hit my sleeve when I shot, because it made a real loud noise, but that's not an excuse for that bad of a shot. I mean, that was not good. But he went out in the middle of the field and then just walked off. He's still out there on the other side, just hanging out, so. Pretty disappointing. I've waited a long time for that moment, and then just blow it.
Well, after missing BlueFace, I was obviously completely devastated. That was the one deer that I wanted to get a shot at in Missouri this year, and I felt like I had blown my only opportunity. And after that day, he completely vanished. No more pictures, nothing. The youth season came and went, nothing after that. I thought he had either been shot or he'd completely left the area. So my stepbrother and his fiance Marty were coming down to Missouri. They were gonna do some hunting. I was gonna try to get Marty on her first buck with a bow. So we hunted 3 or 4 days together. We had some awesome hunts. We were still hunting in that same area. Just in case he showed up, I was gonna give her the camera, and anything else for her was fair game. And on the evening of November 11th, the day before rifle season, we decided to go sit in a small food plot that was only 100 yards from where I had missed BlueFace. We had an awesome hunt. We'd seen 15, 20 younger bucks moving out of this timber, and we couldn't believe our eyes when we looked back in there, and there he was, right where I had missed him. He was there the whole time, and he was just avoiding the trail cameras, and we were just hoping that he would follow his doe out into that field. That was really the only chance we had. Well, we watched him for a couple hours as he ran other bucks off, and he was tending at hot doe. And about 45 minutes before dark, we saw him working up to the field edge, and he stopped inside the timber, and he was worn out. I mean, he was panting. The other deer were walking around him. He would barely even look at him. You could tell that he was just exhausted from running all those bucks off and keeping them away from that hot doe. Well, after he stood there in the timber for a while with that doe, the doe came out into the field and started coming right at us, and of course he was right behind her. He walks into the food plot at 20 yards and I smoked him. He runs off 70 yards and tips over, and then Marty and I realized that the record button wasn't on the camera, and obviously we were both a little disappointed, but it is what it is. I've done it before on some turkey hunts, double punching the record button. It happens, and Marty was new to filming, and that was just part of it. So the story of BlueFace was now to a close, and I could not wait to get out and go put my hands on him. Okay guys, well, the last thing that you would have seen is my buck BlueFace standing up there in the woods, and there were some does and little bucks around him. And Marty and I were getting things situated in here. He jumped the fence and started coming out into this food plot, and I wasn't looking over at the camera, and Marty has filmed very few hunts. This is actually the first hunt where she's actually been behind a camera, and she just forgot to hit the record button. We've all done it before. I've done it. And he walked into the food plot and I smoked him, and then right after we realized that the record button went on. So I still can't believe it. We saw him down in the woods when we got in here. He was with a hot doe, I thought. He came up to the top of the hill, and the does came right out in the field. He followed him right past us 20, 25 yards, and I drilled him. Pretty sure we heard him crash right up here, so I cannot believe it. That's the buck that I've been hunting all year, the buck I missed a little under 2 weeks ago, and I don't even know what to say. I'm just speechless. So we're gonna get out, go look at the arrow here, and show you guys this buck. I just can't believe it. Okay, well, we just got out of the blind here. My arrow's right out there. I think we ranged the arrow, I think it was like 22, 23. Covered in blood there. We heard him crash, so we know he's not gonna be very far. So it sounded like he went down this tall grass right up here, so looks like there's blood, so let's just follow it up through here real quick. Yep, there he is, right there in the grass. Well, November 11th, the day before rifle season in Missouri, and I am in a dream right now. I killed the deer that I wanted to kill this year, waited for him to show up this summer. He was actually 1.5 miles away from here, and he moved in as soon as he shed velvet, and I've been hunting this spot religiously for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I actually missed him right up on the hill behind me almost 2 weeks ago, and thought he was gone. He disappeared off the cameras. Came in here tonight, and it was like he never left. He was right in the bedding area where he always comes out, and he was on a doe in the timber, and there was a bunch of little bucks running around, and finally he jumped out on this road and followed the doe down into the food plot 25 yards, and I smoked him. So unfortunately we had the issues with the camera, but that's all right. A deer like this, it's not that big of a deal. So I just can't believe I'm sitting behind BlueFace finally. I've dreamt of this day for a long, long time. Well, I'd say the one big takeaway about this whole story with BlueFace is the importance of the reveal cell cameras. I only saw him 3 or 4 times in person in the 2 years that I hunted him, but I had hundreds and hundreds of trail camera pictures of him, and that was the reason why I knew where to hunt him and when to hunt him. And I just feel so lucky that I was able to finally get him in front of me at 20 yards, and I was able to make a good shot, especially after missing him only 2 weeks before that. So it was quite a ride. I hope you guys enjoyed the story of my hunt for BlueFace, and good luck to you guys the rest of the season.